Okay, and then Rezu swapped recent off in there. So those players on Enigma are kind of scattering around to the other top squads.
Can you guys hear my
Makes
cat?
sense. No, I haven't heard it yet.
He's meowing a whole lot, and I just want to apologize ahead of time. There's nothing I can do about it. So if you hear any weird noises, that I apologize. But just, let's talk about those PvP changes that we saw. Then what can we expect to see? Sort of how those will take place in today's games.
Well, what we saw basically in the previous cups is rogues falling off a little bit. With some issues with the spite trinket, in addition to pretty much everyone using conflict and strife and really heavy versatility, it was super difficult for rogues or any people that could stun and conflict and strife with trigger to kind of burst through in those stun moments. So I think in this tournament, this weekend, we're going to see a lot more rogues than we have in the last couple of weeks. So this could be the rise of rogue mage once again, and I think that's going to be the big story for me. How many times we see spite trinket utilized? In addition to that, how many players maybe opt off versatility, as the versatile corruption did receive a little bit of a PvP nerf. So maybe we see some more gushing wounds. Since it did get nerfed, people kind of opted just for versatile, but now that versatile is also, reduced in PvP, I think we could see the rise of gushing wounds once again. And I think in general, it should be a little bit faster games this weekend than last weekend.
Well, excited to see those changes take place in today's games, but the wait is over. It is ABC versus Bergen Boys, game 1 of Cup number 4 for the EU bracket.
All right, game number 1, ABC looking to step up their performance, starting the season off a little bit slow, but they've sort of hit their stride now, running that Mage, Warlock, Mistweaver, the composition that we see Cloud9 dominating the North American region. However, Life Cocoon also received some changes. It's not going to be so readily available. It's going to be an extra 20 seconds every time between the cycle of that cooldown for Bergen Boys to find an opportunity for a kill. And right now you can see that the Bergen Boys are playing very aggressively onto Walrix, using that Gladiator Spite Trinket, trying to overload his corruption. This was a strategy against Destruction Warlocks in the past. Last week we saw it fall off due to Spite not working correctly, but now that Spite is back, you can see that the Bergen Boys are ready to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and it's a pretty interesting thing to see. Alec is actually playing the Fire Mage right now. Typically, we saw him opt for the Frost Mage, but it's interesting to see that he's kind of choosing to play both of those specializations depending on that matchup. I think we're seeing a thing from Beyond Spawn there. I'm pretty sure Warwick's actually used his cloak right there, and another Spite is gonna fade there finally. Alec looking for some polys here onto Burley. Double leg sweep coming out from Asgrath. Alec still not able to find it just yet. Now finally gonna get it. I think they're going after the Windwalker here. If you can get a greater Pyroblast, Combustion comes out. Touch of Karma is used here by Monkarn. Re-poly here from Alec, but I don't think they're gonna be able to find a Fear. Alec now blinking on that Death Grip. And Monkarn is also using that N'Zoth tank trinket. So for now, I think the Windwalker DK are about to do another setup here on the Warlock man.
Oh, this is big. So another thing we didn't really talk about, another huge change and kind of the ramifications it has on the meta, is the fact that Reaping Flames got changed. So you can no longer Reaping Flames pets and get the added bonus, the added kill bonus of doubling its damage and reducing its cooldown. So I think on Holy Death Knights, with the rise of gushing wounds and the fact that people can't basically abuse Reaping Flames on their pets, that's going to make the Unholy Death Knight a lot more powerful here. You can see Alec just channeling out Greater Power Blast. It's going to be their job to shut it down. But Walrix, he is getting overwhelmed right now. And I got a chance to look at Monkarn and Joel's gear, and both of them are running all in gushing wounds. So it's going to be a lot of damage coming in from that gushing wounds, which is definitely going to help against that Destruction Warlock and how much armor he really has available.
What do you think of Alex still running the Breath of Dying? Maybe Lucid Dreams isn't the greatest pick because Anti-Magic Zone will always line up with it, but he's still running the Breath even though he's not getting the benefit of that increased damage from killing the pets.
I think it's still a good choice. It's still a good burst. I mean, the Breath of the Dying with the Greater Power Blast can be, a big heavy hit, and there's not too much more you can get value from. Like you said, the Memory of Lucid Dreams can be strong because basically you use your Combustion to bait out Anti-Magic Zone, and then you can use Dark Soul, right? So you have basically two heavy hitting cooldowns and you split them up, and that way he won't have Anti-Magic Zone for one of them. So it's not too terrible, but I can understand why he went Breath.
Looks like we got a little bit of a one side is running all versatility and defense, that's ABC, and then the Bergen Boys are running all gushing wounds and offense. So we're going to have a battle of the unstoppable force versus the immovable object kind of in game number 1, and this could be a real field test for which corruption is going to end up being the best, since versatile was nerfed and gushing wounds had been nerfed prior to that. At the moment there have been moments for the Bergen Boys onto Walrix, but Asgrath, I don't even believe he's activated Life Cocoon one time. It's finally going to be able to get the Life Cocoon on this push. In the meantime, Alex slips through and finds a polymorph on Burley, setting up damage on Joel, but before dampening, I would say it's very unlikely that the Death Knight is going to be taking a substantial amount of damage. The only way I see the Death Knight dying in this situation is if there's 2 greater Pyroblasts with a combustion and he doesn't have anti-magic shield, and there's a polymorph on Burley. If literally that is like the perfect storm situation happens, there's potential for Joel to go down. So before dampening, it's going to be Walrix that is pressured the most due to this Gladiator Spite Trinket that you can see, the purple circles on the ground. If Walrix stands in this purple circle too long, his corruption stacks up and he starts to have a lot of negative effects applied to him. He'll take more damage, he'll spawn things from beyond which do damage to him. And before dampening, he's going to be stressed the most. And then as we get into dampening, then Joel, when his Death Strike is less effective, and then Munkarn, when his reverse harm is less effective, they will be more susceptible to going down. It's really the Bergen Boys that are on a clock in dampening here. And so far, I would say things are going well. Asgrath's mana is incredibly taxed, already below 50%, and we've consistently seen pressure on Walrix.
This setup is just going great here for Bergen Boys. They might actually get the unending resolve right now. No life cocoon for a couple of seconds. There it is. It's going to be boosted there by the Ford Brute as well. Going to make it even beefier. I think about 20% more absorb on that one. Joel still has all of his defense, so even if he drops kind of low, it doesn't really matter too much. Warwick's swapped over to Succubus, so he's going to be able to land some crowd control, and I think that's a clever play here by Warwick, because Alec has no problems finding these polys, because Burley is just playing out in the open a lot, trying to stay with his team, trying to make sure that everybody has an earthen wall and things like that. Tank Trinket going to activate here for Joel. Should still be okay, still holding on to that anti-magic shell. He might have to use it instead. He's actually going to use the Icebound Fortitude, which is a 3-minute cooldown there, really just banking on holding on to it. But now finally Vitality Conduit coming through from Burley should keep everyone alive, and they are staggering these spites. Another spite's going to land. Here's the leg sweep as well. Anti-magic zone is just going to allow them to tank some of these greater Pyroblasts. Alec now going for a polymorph. They have the damage here onto Monkar, and it could be big. Another interrupt on Alex Greater Pyroblast right there. And Asgrath does have a little bit of mana still to work with, but I would say Bergen Boys are in a commanding position right now, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, Bergen Boys are looking great. They got big offense thanks to the Gushing Wounds. The Spike Trinket is looking really good. It seems really difficult right now for Walrix to deal with this. Asgrath having to expend a lot of mana to keep him alive. Looking for a drink potentially now, but Joel, he should be able to shut that down. The Death and Decay keeps Asgrath in combat and will prevent him from drinking, but they need to make sure they continue the pressure. They cannot allow Asgrath to drink. If he can recover his mana, it's going to be a nightmare here for the Bergen Boys. So as long as they can shut him down, I mean, this game, like you said, Zico, looking heavily in favor of the Bergen Boys.
Nope.
Alec going to have to find some sort of miracle swap-opportunity here, because Walrix is slowly but surely getting eaten alive here.
That Breath of the Dying change is actually probably the most substantial in this matchup in particular, because as the Unholy Death Knight, you can run a talent called Epidemic, and you can activate it to basically put Asgarath in combat. It will flare up your disease, and when he gets hit by it, he'll stop drinking. And Unholy Death Knight is one of the best specs, if not the best spec, to stop a drink. At the moment, set up over onto Burley, but Vitality Conduit, Burley's going to be A-okay with that. It's Walrix who's actually falling very far behind. He's interrupted Asgarath trinkets, but Life Cocoon is still 13 seconds away, 12 seconds away. They're trying to push for the kill. 9 more seconds. Alec popping Combustion, trying to go for a solo kill on Burley. I really think that's unlikely. Maybe if he was running Lucid, but not without it. Burley's going to line of sight and Ghost Wolf begin to recover. Walrix is still on the back foot. And as long as they can keep using that Epidemic to stop Asgarath from drinking, they should be able to take this. Huge pressure. Joel is also running the Dark Sim. He can steal a Greater Pyroblast and throw that over onto Walrus when they overcorrupt him, or steal a Polymorph. This composition is looking great for the Bergen Boys in Game 1.
It is a little bit tricky to Dark Sim a Greater Pyro, though, because typically the mages use Fire Blast to get a Pyroblast as well. So you might steal a Fire Blast, which is why a lot of these DKs don't go for that play. But if you can get it, we've seen some DKs like Mez, for example, be able to do it, and it's a huge swing of momentum. But Asgrath in a paralyzed now, no trinket, no life cocoon for about 40 seconds here. Warwick might have to use his unending resolve here finally. Burley in big trouble here, but nice pre-vitality conduit and anti-magic zone there by Joel. He's gonna keep him nice and safe for now. They need to get aggressive here. They need to try to shut down some of these greater pyroblasts. They need to have some cross kicks. There it is. Nice death grip there by Joel. He needs to use his pet interrupt on Alec on these greater pyroblasts, but Warwick's now still taking massive damage. This has got Burley misses the spirit link right there. I'm not sure what happened, but still Warwick's going to be taking a lot of damage here. Burley full poly on Asgrath. It gets stolen. No trinket out. Warwick's going to use his unending resolve on 1%, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
Cocoon!
Cocoon when he comes out. It's 1 second left. He gets it off in the nick of time. That was so close for the Bergen Boys, but still a massive win in terms of cooldown and in terms of mana here, Van.
That was super nice. I mean, look at Asgrath. He's got no mana left. The damage from the Bergen Boys is completely overwhelming. The gushing wounds pushing through that heavy armor of the Destruction Warlock. Alec trying desperately to throw out polymorphs and look for, an opportunity in this match, but Bergen Boys, they still have so much defense. Alex looking for a greater pyroblast. Can he find one? Monkarn uses that lingering psychic shell, and I really like this play from Joel. As well as Monkarn. I mean, right now they're forced to run, but you play really aggressive with your corruption, and then you play the lingering psychic shell, that extra defensive cooldown you can rotate through, so you have great consistent damage, and then you have those big cooldowns you can use when you are in a little bit of trouble, and maybe one or two many greater pyroblasts do sneak through. Asgrath actually did recover quite a bit of mana there, so he was able to sit down for a drink. Nicely done there by ABC with enough pressure, allowing Asgrath to actually go recover his mana, and that's going to be huge for ABC as we march forward into dampening.
Burley's mana is still just sitting maxed out here. I don't think that's going to be a win condition for ABC. It's just going to be an absolute blowout with a Dark Solar Combustion. But that's 20 seconds away, and Walrix is in trouble. Asgrath is trying to drink and regenerate some mana. Monkarn rolls over to deny the drink, and they force Life Cocoon. I like that pairing with the Fort Brew from Asgrath, as Life Cocoon's absorption is based on the monk's health. Fort Brew increases his health, therefore increasing the absorb on Walrix this deep into dampening. It becomes a necessity for Asgrath to use personal cooldowns to stabilize his Warlock, but Walrix is currently trying to get out of these Gladiator Spites. I would actually like to see them save the Spites and swap over to Burley. The one-hit wonder. Are they going for the KO? Anti-Magic Zone is down. Will it deny the kills? Chaos Bolt slip through, and it won't. A healer swap right when they were on the brink of defeat will net ABC Game 1 victory.
Oh my god. Wow. Yeah, wow, indeed. Burley going down there at the end, putting ABC versus Bergen Boys. That was a 1-0. We'll see if Bergen Boys can turn it around, Zico, but how are they able to get Burley down at the end?
Well, Burley didn't have his trinket, and they were able to set up a nice swap there, get that Chaos Bolt and that Greater Pyroblast. I think they stopped the Chaos Bolt, but they had, enough lockdown, and also Burley was kind of low. When he got coiled there by Warwick, he was already around like 70% from Alex soloing him, and they had the leg sweep to follow it up. It was pretty good setup there by ABC, I would say, but also felt like Bergen Boys were in the driver's seat, pretty much all the game up until that point.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Wally almost go down Supatees, but then they got that last minute life cocoon, and I don't know. Like you were saying, do you think they were in the driver's seat the whole time there, or was ABC going to win that whole time, Supatees? What do you think?
I feel like ABC were showing that they wanted to go after Burley. I mean, Alec, the past 3 combustions were used to attack Burley, I think. So they were showing that they wanted to do that. And then Burley with no Gladiator's Medallion. I'm just trying to watch the end of the game to see if he really could have done anything about it. He got Mortal Coiled into Infernal Stun. Asgrath moved up and leg swept out of it. It was just a really good crowd control chain. And even with the anti-magic zone, it just wasn't enough defense. So at that point in the game, what could it be? Maybe just staying out of line of sight? Did he need to be? It seemed like Walrick kind of just snuck up on him and found the Mortal Coil, and they just chained it one after the other, and he couldn't get out of it in time.
So it's Bergen Boys map pick. They went to Hook Point. Now ABC is going to choose their comp. What do we think their options are here for on the side of Bergen Boys here, Ben? Do you think they're going to try that comp again with Windwalker DK?
I think they should. Honestly, it looks like a matchup they should win. I think if that setup for ABC just went a little bit worse, or Bergen Boys responded a little bit better, I mean, to be honest, they dropped the anti-magic zone. They probably felt, okay, we're safe, we're fine. But, if we had a paralyze on Alec or a leg sweep on Alec or literally anything to just slow down the damage. So we saw, Burley have just a moment to breathe, to stay alive, I think Bergen Boys was going to win that game. So if this series keeps playing out, these exact same compositions, I do feel like Bergen Boys, I mean, they looked favored on the Grand Arena with their strategy. So it might be up to ABC to switch it up, but maybe they're feeling confident they can keep making these healer swaps and try to make something happen, because it seemed like the only time we saw ABC with any real pressure was when they actually were going after Burley. So I'd like to see them try to set that up more, but if it kind of just plays out standard, it seems like the Bergen Boys, they could win on mana, they can win on just outright pressure, enough things from beyond spawn. Like, there's a lot of win conditions for them, whereas for ABC, I think it looks a lot more difficult.
Mm-hmm. And this is a rematch from last Cup as well. We did see ABC face off of Bergen Boys last weekend. They won 3-1, and they played that mage lock composition the entire time as well. Now we're seeing ABC lock in that comp. They're going to switch to Fire Mage Rogue, Asgaroth on a Holy Paladin. Soup Tees, what do you think about this comp?
On a small map, I think it makes sense. The Mage Warlock change, the changes obviously benefit Bergen Boys the most, so in a map advantage situation, I would think that Windwalker Death Knight Shaman is almost maybe not guaranteed to win, but the likelihood has maybe doubled since the last time these compositions went head to head. So I think it makes a lot of sense for ABC. They can also now utilize the Spite if they so choose with the Rogue Mage composition. That was sort of the main one that was benefiting from it, but I guess at the same time it was also nerfed. You can no longer do a blind into sap during Spite because Spite keeps you in combat. It has to be blind into polymorph, but from when I watched the open bracket, it seemed like most teams were doing blind into stun into try and kill the target. They weren't even trying to wait the extra 8 seconds that you might get with a polymorph. And Paladins were also playing Blinding Light. They were doing Blinding Light Spite into stun, and they would get 2 setups with that crowd control. I anticipate Burley to be a main target in this matchup, and it's kind of, I've got reminiscence of Legion a little bit with the essences, the way they're working along the same lines as Vim. If you remember Vim for healers in Legion, it was when you're above 80% health, you got 20% more healing. And then you also had what was it called? When you were below 50%, you had haste. I can't remember the name of it. But basically, if you joined a game and the healer had Vim, you attacked the healer. And if you joined the game and they didn't have Vim, you attacked the DPS. Now it's, does the healer have Vitality Conduit? Try and kill the healer. If the healer's running Conflict, don't kill the healer, is what I'm noticing as a trend.
Wasn't it Vim and Defender?
Defender, yeah. Defender was the other option that you ran.
Didn't Vanguards have a team
I feel like
Vin something? Am I just like completely blanking here? Alright, well anyways, it's game 2 of ABC versus Bergen Boys. Let's see if Bergen Boys can tie it up, or is ABC going to take it to match point?
This is a really smart pick by ABC, I think. On this map, this is exactly what you want to be doing. You don't want to run no Spell Cleave here. You barely got the win on Nagrant. Instead, you play the Rogue Mage Pally here, and you're going to have a massive advantage because Alex is going to have an easy time landing. Paul is. Asgaroth is going to have a small, distance to cross to try to get those Hammer of Justice. And, you're going to have that Blessing of Protection, maybe a Blinding Light as well from Asgaroth to help secure those kills.
I'm kind of curious. I don't know if I'm sold on that Alex is going to have a really easy time getting polymorphs. We'll see, though. I mean, if Bergen Boys can generate a lot of pressure or ABC can get a lot of spites off, I think that's going to kind of determine the match. Tap on Burley early on with an early combustion. Monkarn, he's just going to be sitting in the anti-magic zone with the lingering Psychic Shell. Hopefully, for him, that's enough to survive. Nice polymorph on Joel, full blind on Burley. Is he going to trinket? Monkarn is just sitting through everything, and Burley decides he has to trade out the trinket, and now is very susceptible to a swap from ABC, and I think that's something we're going to see. I mean, if they can get a polymorph on Burley, they triple spite him. If they are running it, I'm just going to quickly double check. Doesn't look like they actually are running it. So they don't have the spite. Maybe just going to go after Monkarn, but I think Bergen Boys, their trades there were perfectly fine.
Yeah, everybody on the side of Bergen Boys is Conflict and Strife to try and get that kidney shot damage reduction, but Burley is counterspelled. He can't heal. Joel is polymorph. Monkarn barely karmas. He can bop the karma. He does, and immediately wins the game. Right. Excellent execution by ABC, bringing out a lot of aggression. So, from my point of view so far, who benefited the most from the changes? Unholy Death Knights and Rogues. Rogues definitely. They're having fun with their kidney shot again there in game number 2. That ended a lot faster than
that wasn't even a minute. All right. Well, now they're up 2-0. They switched it up a little bit on the side of Bergen Boys. They went with that Frost Mage instead of the Unholy. What do they even do next year, Ben? What like, is it Windwalker DK that's not working, or is it something else?
It's.
I feel like it's a couple different things here. I think
They stole
ABC is
the
having
map.
smart picks depending on the map, and I think that's what we're going to see. I mean, if Bergen Boys goes to a big map, ABC will play Warlock Mage. Actually, they could just play Rogue Mage Paladin the entire time. To be honest with you, it seems like a very reasonable matchup. I do think the Bergen Boys could have played maybe a bit better defensively. Like I think they may have under-responded or waited a little too long to use their defensive cooldowns. But still, when you're playing against a Rogue Mage Paladin of this caliber, that can happen at any moment. It's something you have to seriously consider. I don't really know. What other compositions do they have? They have a Destro Warlock,
Yeah, they
right?
played Windwalker Lock
they have
last time
Windwalker
against ABC.
I don't know if that's...
I think they should have picked big map. Actually, Bergen Boys should have picked big map, baited Mage Lock, and then played Destro
You'd rather fight Mage
Windwalker.
Lock.
Well, I think as a Windwalker on that small map, like, you've nowhere to go. So if they lock Rogue Mage Paladin on the big map, you still can play Windwalker DK, I think. I don't know. It's actually such a tough choice now because they can't only play Mage Lock. The Rogue Mage is an option for them.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think necessarily even these losses have been because of composition. I feel like game number 1, Burley linked Air, and that allowed Asgraf to drink to 50% mana. And I think if he didn't do that, they could have just stayed in longer, and he was like 10% when that on mana. They would have just won on mana. And in the last game, Asgraf, Burley got counterspelled into a Hammer of Justice after he trinketed the blind. So. I mean, it's sure you can say like don't get counterspelled, but I feel like.
But don't get
person
counterspelled.
No, but it's true though. Don't get counterspelled. Like the person faking has the advantage.
Just
in
heal
that
me.
case. Just heal. Just like you're a shaman. Like, why are you casting? Just press Rip That Enough Shield. You know.
So.
Yeah, I mean it's
Or
fair
cast
point.
or like press grounding and then cast a heal, or earthen wall and then cast a heal. Like if you get kicked, that's what people do. If you're a monk, you press cocoon, you get kicked. Unlucky. It doesn't matter if you don't get kicked. It still doesn't matter, you know. That's why I think it favors the healer, and it's small mistakes like that that really matter in my opinion.
I think they probably could have rotated their defensives a bit better as well. Monkarn had to trade quite a bit. I mean, he was just sitting in the anti-magic zone, but I think the push from Alec, Nixie, and Asgrath initially was too much. They needed to stop the re-polymorph or the re-Ring of Frost or something. But Monkarn was completely unable to do so, and as a result, I mean, they just got so many defensives from the team of the Bergen Boys. So, I don't know. I do think that if we see either one of these matchups again, the Windwalker Death Knight Shaman has a fair shot. So I don't think they're out of it. I don't think it's just composition like Zico said. There's definitely room for improvement.
Mm-hmm. And it's definitely not possible for them, or it's definitely possible, for them to turn it around at this point. You know, it is a best of 5 series. We've certainly seen reverse sweeps in the past from situations like this. ABC locking in that Fire Mage Rogue composition once again. Now it's Bergen's choice to pick their comp. So the question is, are they going to continue with that Windwalker DK? Maybe go to that Windwalker Lock that we saw from them from last week. But it seems like you guys don't really know if there is a best option for Bergen Boys other than just really cleaning up their gameplay, Subtees.
Burley, I just feel like Bergen Boys thought that they were going to play Spite and they were going to kill Burley, looking at the way that Burley built his character, because he's running the Spirit Wolf, Spectre Recovery. He didn't go for his Aura Mastery casts, so he'd be immune to interrupts. He went Conflict Major. He went full Turtle Shaman. Like, he was expecting to be the target, and then they didn't hit him. So he loses a lot of efficiency and the ability to avoid being interrupted, to heal his partners. I think he should go for a halfway point on his build. Like, maybe run Vitality Conduit Major, and then take no Aura Mastery. Then you can just use Vitality Conduit to heal, and then you've got all this Ghost Wolf built, the Ghost Wolf build to heal yourself when you're the target. I just really think that ABC got the correct strategy, like, right off the bat. Like, whether or not they acknowledged that Burley was running that build or not, I'm not sure, but the strat they ran really punished Burley for going for such a personally defensive build.
I actually don't like this at all from Bergen Boys. I think so. They locked in Windwalker Death Knight again, but Frost Death Knight.
They did that last game.
Yeah, Frost Death Knight was what they played last game.
I didn't like it either. I was going to say it
holy
too.
better, a lot better.
I feel like Frost Mage is really hard, or Frosty K is hard to pull off against Ineffable Truth Holy Paladin because they get so many freedoms that the mage is still moving even though he's able to blink, and it's really hard to get Rogue Mage Paladin all stacked together for Leg Sweep and Chill Streak, and if you don't get stacked up Chill Streak, the Frost Death Knight may as well not be in the game. I really don't like the pick.
All right, well, Bergen Boys locking in that Frost Death Knight once again. Game is going to be starting here soon. This is an elimination series. Loser of this series will be knocked out of the tournament. It is ABC versus Bergen Boys here on game number 3. First match of the day, 2-0 for ABC versus Bergen Boys.
I really think that, the previous losses, they come down to, some of the mistakes we mentioned. I think in this game, if we see a similar opener where ABC goes in and they get the early blind onto Burley and they do, that CC chain that we saw with like the Sap into Hammer of Justice into Ring Blind, see something similar like that come out, I want to see Monkarn just use his Touch of Karma right away. If they bop it, run away. Because that way you traded your Karma for a bop and you're going to hold on to, your Diffuse Magic and your Tank Trinket and your Fort Brew and anything like that. And if Burley ever needs you to use something, you're still going to have a couple of things that you can press, because if you're in a sticky situation and the only thing you have is Touch of Karma, I don't think it's that reliable. So if you throw it out early and you make that trade, I think that's the best situation for the Windwalker DK here.
Alright, big setup on Monkarn once again. Anti-magic zone a little late. The double blinding sleet. Monkarn trades out the Karma early like you wanted, and now it's a much more difficult decision, but they used the Blessing of Protection anyways. Monkarn portals away. A nice Ring of Peace, might be able to self-sustain. Sap on Burley's Trinket, but out of line of sight, this is looking okay. Monkarn was able to hold on to his Lingering Psychic Shell, as well as his Fused Magic and the Fortifying Brew. So Bergen Boys not in the worst position here, but still, Monkarn has to be a little bit careful.
All right, Joel is trying to get some pressure here on Alec, but Nixie's making the smart move and attacking Burley. He's not standing next to his mage, so they're not stacked up, and that leg sweep basically got no value. Alec was able to escape and avoid the chill streak. Monkarn's damage is going to have to carry the team here in between the chill streak attempts. They're going to switch to Nixie, try and force him off of Burley. The only thing is, if they do decide to stay to Burley, he's built his character to be as durable as possible. It will be very difficult to kill Burley in that double stun. And if he didn't build his character like that, maybe he just died right there. So that personal defensive build worked out here in game 2. Now they got pressure on Alec. They've already triggered Cauterize, looking to get more cooldowns as well, but that sprint effect from the Cauterize make it difficult to connect. They drop the ride to win. Nixie, he's still staying on Burley. I'm not a big fan of this. Touch of Death, are they going to use Blessing of Protection to remove the damaging effect of this? They ring Alec against the wall. Burley stunned up, but Alec cannot get in line of sight. It's just Nixie. It's just Asgarath. He's in Ghost Wolf. He avoids the spell steal with this good positioning. Monkarn ports back to assist him, but the whole team is just dying at the moment. He has Ascendance. That's going to be basically an immediate top for him. Going for these big chain heals, trying to get himself stabilized. And it looks like he's going to be able to recover here. His whole team pulled back into the fight, and Bergen Boys are in a solid position in game 3.
Yeah, it looks like they could go here and get a big push. Ooh, nice CC here, though, from ABC. 3-on-1 situation here onto Monkarn. He's going to use his Touch of Karma, gets immediately bopped, and now he's using that Lingering Psychic Shell. I want to see a teleport, though, here. He's just sitting in the open, tanking everything. Still not using his Diffuse Magic, trying to hold on to it. Burley in a Dragon's Breath, which is going to put the blind on the R of Nixie. So they're not going to be able to blind in this setup and also get Burley's Trinket. So Monkarn should be able to recover here if Burley can fake cast some of those interrupts. No counterspell, no kick available. The Bergen Boys hold on. The next setup, I assume, is going to be a blind from Nixie and a kidney shot onto Monkarn. You can see Nixie's already in position. There's the kidney. Where is the blind? Hammer of Justice. Alec cannot find a poly just yet. Nice interrupts here. And Nixie cannot follow it up with a blind either because of that blinding sleet. There's the blind now from Nixie.
Oh!
And he gets trinketed by Burley. Big hit there from that Drestigath. Alec, no Cauterize. Honestly, complete luck to even get that ice block off the rookie.
Yeah, I mean, at least he got it off, right? Alec is going to be able to survive. He gets the freedom. He's going to continue to kite, and I mean, it's been difficult for him to make space. I mean, that's the big thing. They want to do a coordinated assault on Burley, but with Joel and Munkarn just sitting on top of Alec, he hasn't really had the freedom to push in and get that damage rolling. It's just really good positioning coming in from the Bergen boys. Alec looking to reset his combustion, and he has done it, so there's no combustion available. I'm thinking a big all-in onto Burley. They could definitely pull it off. They get crowd control on Joel. There it is, double Dragon's Breath. Alec's going to be looking to blink in with the big combustion. Where is the damage to follow it up, though? Burley caught in a Hammer of Justice. Can he get the Spirit Link down? He just needs a second. Gets out of the stun. The Spirit Link totem drops, and Bergen boys hold on. But this is great pressure coming in from ABC. In the meantime, though, the Bergen boys looking to reverse it with a touch of death. Ultimate Sacrifice is going to trade from Asgarath, and that's going to keep Alec alive, but that's a big defensive cooldown that ABC is rotating through.
The teams have been making good trades. It's almost too close to call who's ahead in this position. Burley with basically nothing. A swap over to Munkarn, trying to catch him off guard, but a double Blinding Sleet into a leg sweep. There's no leg sweep available. Defensive Blinding Sleet to pause the match for Burley to try and recover. Nixie is splitting back over onto the Shaman. Love the positioning. Definitely don't want to stack up against a Frost Death Knight. Alec can just avoid Joel and Munkarn, polymorph them, Nova them, and then swap over to the Shaman. Beautiful Kleptomania on the Ghost Wolf. I don't think there's any way he survives this. They get the Hammer of Justice. They go for a Vanish Cheap Shot. Maledict is stacking up. Burley activating the Fire Blood to get the Maledict off, barely surviving at 10%. Beautiful timing there. That Ring of Peace, really the only reason Burley's alive here. Asgarath is trying to finish him off, but not able to find enough damage. It's now Alec on the back foot. Asgarath has to bubble out of crowd control. Bomb in some big heals. Bergen boys on match point, facing elimination. Playing out of their minds to stay in this fight. Nixie is low. Munkarn's in trouble. Who's going to fall first? Munkarn gets the Karma. They bop the Karma. They're going all in for the kill. Munkarn diffuse magics afterwards. They don't want to overlap the trinket on the blind with how many cooldowns Munkarn has committed, but sitting a blind and sitting a Ring of Frost, 16 seconds of crowd control. Munkarn has to stay alive by himself for 16 seconds. So far, he has managed to, but now it's been up to 20 seconds, 21 seconds of crowd control. Burley finally out, trying to get some heals with the Earthen Wall Totem down. And Bergen boys pull off another miracle. Can they keep it up and execute for the kill? They've only got a 45-second window where Alec doesn't have a cooldown to survive.
If the Bergen boys are going to win this game, it needs to happen right now. They have about 12 seconds before that Hand of Sacrifice comes up, and Alec is going to have his Cauterizer rotating back up. This has to be the setup. Nice double Dragon's Breath by Alec. Should deny that setup, and now they are wide open here. Burley could go down. Munkarn could go down. Alec should be able to survive here. That Hand of Sacrifice, Asgarath should be able to keep him up here with those wings as well. If there's not a swap onto Asgarath, I don't think Bergen boys can win this anymore, and Burley could just go down in the swap here. Garo comes out, and that is going to be the game here for ABC. And this was a much better fought series, I think, from Bergen boys. We started to see them get a bit more comfortable in the matchup, and you could tell like they almost won